This lesson today is about how to change between your different positions of the pentatonic scale. So it still works for the blues scale, and I might introduce a blue note or two, but mainly I want to talk about just the bare minor pentatonic scales, because if you can change between them, then adding in that blue note or adding in the other Dorian notes, which we're going to come to in the following lessons, makes a lot more sense. So let's get our heads around the pentatonic first. So there's a number of different approaches that you can use, and the first one I want to talk about is sliding between notes. Now, of course, before you get into this, you need to know all 5 positions pretty well. Or if you're just moving between 2 positions, like say position 1 and position 2, you need to know those positions really well. So let's have a little talk about sliding. Now, of course, sliding can be done with any finger on any string from any one note of a position to any other note of any other position. So it's a pretty versatile technique. Now, just using my first finger, you can get, there's quite a few really cool little tricks you can do. So, for example, if you're in position 1, starting in position 1, and you want to get somewhere further up the neck, it's okay to slide the whole length of the neck if you want. So if I play in position 1, and then the slide I'm going to do is from first finger in the 5th fret of the 3rd string, and I'm going to slide all the way up to the 12th fret of the 3rd string, so then I would be up in position 4. So I might go like so I slid, or I went, and then first finger, straight up into another lick in position 4. So you can see that it's as long as you know where you're going, it's actually no trouble to get there. But there's a little trick that I want to share with you, which is always look to the fret that you're going to. Don't try and watch your finger as it slides up, or you'll invariably miss the note that you're trying to hit. So the idea would be, while I'm down here, I'm looking at that note, if I'm looking at the guitar, and then when I know I'm going to slide up to the 12th fret, I'm looking at the 12th fret, and I can watch my finger get to it and then stop it, rather than trying to watch it go up, because it's really hard to judge then when your finger gets to the right fret. So that's the first thing. Always look at the fret that you're going to, don't watch your finger as it slides. Now, that was one example, take us from position 1 all the way to position 4. But it can go any which way, and quite a fun thing is sliding up and back down again, and then up and back down again to different notes each time. So I might go, using a similar kind of approach, I might go from the 5th fret, slide up to the 9th fret, then back to the 7th fret, then up to the 12th, back to the 9th, up to the 14th, 12, 17. You end up with this quite a nice little. And I've only had to actually pick that note once, but you could pick it lots of times. Doesn't really matter. You can pick them as often as you like, or you can just slide around without having to pick each time. So this is a really useful little trick. Of course, it works on any string. You could be on the 1st string and go 3 to 8 to 5 to 10 to 8 to 12 and have... That'd be a pretty cool lick as well. There's an infinite number of combinations, far too many to go through unless I was going to do a whole DVD about all of these different slides. And that, of course, was just so far using just your first finger. But of course you could slide with another finger, like say your 3rd finger would be a good one. If you're in position 1, and you finish there with your 3rd finger on the 8th fret, like you were going to do a bend, you could just then slide that up 2 frets, and now you're in position 2. Then you might use that same 3rd finger to slide up to 13th. Then I used my 2nd finger on the 12th fret there. And then why not slide it up another 2 frets to 15. And that way I just let my finger lay over onto the 1st string at the 7th fret. There's infinite combinations of these things that you can try. So using slides is the first really good way to do it. it's something you should definitely be experimenting with. Now, as well as slides, you can also do direct shifts. Now, what I mean by that is, you might remember back from one of our earlier lessons we did in the position shifting. One of the licks I gave you was this. Now, you can do that any direction. You could start in 1 and move back to 5 and then up to 2. Now, if you want to move that one up again, you'd have to go 12, 10, 13, 10 because of the shape of the notes. The next one would have to be 15, 12, 15, 13. And then we're back at the octave of the first one. Now, for that kind of thing, the thing that you want to use is a complete neck fingerboard diagram which has got all of the notes of the scale on it, so you can start to extract. Say, one of my favourite ones is to look at 2 strings, so usually the thinnest 2 strings. If you look at all of the notes in A minor pentatonic on strings 1 and 2 and look at different ways you can try and combine them, there's lots of different choices. It's up to you to try and figure out what way you might want to do it. The little trick of looking for notes that are on the same fret but on different strings is a good one, because you can have, in A minor pentatonic, you can have 3rd fret, 5th fret, 8th fret, 10th fret. The next one you can't, because it'll be 13 and 12. But then we're back to it again. And there's all sorts of little, straight away a little cool lick, and it's really simple. And we've travelled all the way from position 5 up into position 1, up into position 2. So that's also a really, really, really ace trick that you can kind of play about with. Now, another, I've got all these tricks. What am I, a magician? Another trick that you can use is to do again, it was a concept I talked about in an earlier video, which is looking at the same note on different strings. The lick I gave you before was this. Going from A 5th fret thinner string to A 10th fret 2nd string. But why not go from there to, say, C on the 8th fret thinner string to C 13th fret on the 2nd string. So now we got, then D maybe, E. And now you can see we've shifted quite far. We've gone from down here to right up the dusty end again. So it's this kind of trick of using the same note in different places is also a really, really good way to get about. But it doesn't just have to be on the 1st string to the 2nd string. It could be on the 2nd string and 3rd string. You could doesn't really matter. Just experiment yourself a little bit, find the same note, see if you can find a way to slide to it. Generally, if you're going to do that lick, the first note will be played with your 1st finger and the next note will be slid with your 3rd finger. There's a whole heap of different ideas here, but that's kind of the most basic of those concepts that you might like to try out. So that's plenty of talking from me. Now it's time for plenty of playing from you, because you can only play yourself into a new way of thinking. You can't think yourself to a new way of playing. Great quote from an old friend of mine called John Fazarakis. John, if you're out there, hello. So it's really important that you realise that you can only play your way into these new ideas. Don't just think about it. A lot of people spend too much time thinking about playing guitar and not enough playing guitar. So have a good play with those different ideas. When you feel cool with that, we're ready to explore this interesting thing called the Dorian mode. Nice big Greek name for you. So I'll see you for that sometime soon.